So okay, here we are, Nick Smash, Dave Howard.
That's me.
Sheltering from the storm at 291A King Street, where we used to live. Where a lot of the fanzines were put together in the early 80s, where Dave used to rehearse. Before we lived here, it was called the Suicide Club during the punk years. And before that, Gary Cormier, famous of the two Garys, used to live here. And then before that, an actor by the name of Sandy Crawley used to live here. And of course, during that period, none of these condos were here. The area between John Street at the corner and Massey Hall, the new Massey Hall, was all just an empty car park. The building next door when we lived here was all, it was empty, it was abandoned, haunted, right? Yeah. And where we used to get up to all sorts of fun and games, I guess.
Like scaring the bejeebers out of winos.
Yeah. Lots of ghosts from the War of 1812 apparently used to scare us silly and stuff like that.
Well, only when they were, you know, upset.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they just hung out.
We were making.
They didn't care for the music much, but
no.
Nice otherwise.
Yeah.
Nice people.
So we were here from 1980, 81.
Okay.
Till about 80, when I left in 83, and Dave stayed on for a while.
I moved in I'm going to say 80, maybe late 82.
Yeah. I mean, there were other people here. People were coming and going all the time. There were Margot Timmins and Alan or Michael from then was the Hunger Project, who then morphed into Cowboy Junkies, but they used to live here as well. We sort of crossed paths when everybody was coming and going. And then they moved to London and sort of left it open for a couple of those other people. So that's when we started to do the fanzines here. It was my own fanzine, Smash It Up. There was Dave McIntosh with Sounds from Streets, and a few other people would come and put their fanzines together here. It was kind of like a meeting point for all the zines, but also a lot of the new bands that were starting to play gigs at the Bev, which is up the road, the Cabana Room, the Horseshoe, the Cameron House. It was just a really central place to meet, and it was walking distance of all these clubs.
In '78, we think, it was the Suicide Club.
Yeah.
And there were no musicians living here. There was just people who liked punk music. And like I said, so on one night, their last night, the police knew about it, so they came and they busted the joint. And all the police were in here, and maybe about 3 or 4 of the punks were in here, and the rest, the other 100, were out on the street. And they didn't like the fact that the police were in here interrupting their favorite pastime. So there was a brown unmarked police car parked just on John Street at the corner. And so they walked up to it, and about 30 of them all got on one side and hoisted it up and flipped it over upside down. So the landlord, all he heard was that it was musicians who had done this.
Oh, yeah.
And so he said, no more musicians get to live there, none whatsoever. But the thing was, there hadn't been no musicians living here. Every time we signed a new lease, whoever was here had to bring the new people down to their offices and sit down, get the once-over from these people, and then ask the all-important question, you're not a musician, are you? You don't know any musicians, do you? And we don't know, no. Everybody that has been living here since that time was a musician. All of us. Thank you. And I hung up.